Here's a case study for you. I worked with a guy called Samuel. And Samuel had got himself into some pretty big strife financially. This is because of two reasons, and I'm going to run those through with you. But first I'm going to tell you what kind of trouble he was in. So he had money, and that was going really well. And then he met Calvin, and they partnered. And then over the next few years, Samuel's money dropped down and down and down. He made some really poor choices in what he did with his money, and he was at the brink of not having any. Now, when he came to me, he was in quite a bit of stress over this. So we looked at these two things, and I'm going to go through them with you today. Okay, so the first reason, mindset. The first thing is mindset. His mindset was that he didn't know what to do with his money and he didn't know where to turn. So he turned to someone who he thought knew more than him, which was Calvin. And Calvin had no money of his own. In fact, he was just working and hand to mouth. And this is a man that was approaching 70. So he still didn't have any passive income. He didn't have the wealth that he wanted. He had sometimes had some windfalls, and that had disappeared pretty quickly. So the mindset that Samuel had was that Calvin knew more than him, and that he should listen to him, and that he didn't know anything about finances. He didn't learn about that growing up. So he trusted him, and in trusting someone else, he stopped trusting himself, trusting his own judgment, his own instincts, and having that mindset of, I'm not good enough to be able to manage this. I'm not good enough to know what to do with my money. You can call it confidence or self-esteem. These are really vital in your wealth creation journey. Not being, not being cocky and not saying, well, I know everything and I can do everything, but having that internal confidence that you can, in fact, do it with the right advice. Which brings us to number two. Second reason why Samuel was in such a terrible state with his finances. The second reason why Samuel was in such a terrible state with his finances is that he listened to the advice of someone who was not wealthy, who had not made it from scratch. He'd taken the advice from his partner Calvin. And even though Calvin was a wonderful man, he really did not know how to deal with his finances. He had not experienced it. He had not created wealth himself. He was not a financial planner. He was not a financial advisor. But he was giving financial advice to his partner Samuel, and Samuel took this advice. We can hear tons of advice around our finances. You can go to anyone. You could go to someone with absolutely nothing, who's unemployed and on the absolute bones of their backside, and ask them for financial advice, and they'll have something to tell you. Maybe it's work hard, maybe it's to get a degree, whatever it might be. Maybe it's to invest in some early startup that hasn't had the due diligence done on it. But what's important here? So you can learn a lot from what Samuel has learnt, and that is to take advice from someone who's been there and done that, someone who knows the ropes, someone who's at the level where you want to be. That's the only advice that you should be taking. One of my income streams is through my stocks, so I trade and invest in the stock market. And any one day you will get people telling you to invest in a certain thing. You have a conversation with someone and they'll say, oh, you've got to try this stock out. Oh, have a look at this. You should be investing in this stock or that stock. And of course, when I go home and research it, it's not the right stock. It doesn't have what it takes to be a good investment or a good trade. And it's like any form of income. So it's really important to really, not physically, but inside your head, just go, la 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 la, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. That's what you need to do on the inside. Don't take it in, don't listen. And then open your ears and take on board what someone who's done it has said, someone who's experienced it, someone who's gone from nothing to something, someone who's been educated. That's the advice you need to take. And then actually take it. Take some steps towards it. That's the next thing, right? Is taking the steps. So there's two really key points to keep in mind in building your wealth. The first one is your mindset, getting this clear, getting this straight, taking away anything that is sabotaging your success. And number two, get the right advice. Get the right advice and take it from the right people. Have a team, whether it be a good coach, financial planner, financial advisor. Get them on your team and take their advice, and block your ears to anything that anyone else says who has not created what you want to create in the future. That way you can build your wealth.